Hi. Well, the fall 2022 semester SFA has come to an end. Students have gone home for the winter. Faculty have done something. Some of us go somewhere else. Some of us vacation. Some of us spend the break prepping for the spring. And for me, part of prepping for the next semester is reading the course evaluations from the semester that just completed and seeing if there are any nuggets of wisdom in there or things in there that I could use to improve my courses or my teaching. Despite the fact that I've been doing this for 15 years, several years as a doctoral teaching fellow at Sam Houston State, 5 years at East Texas Baptist University up in Marshall, and then since about 2015, I've been on the faculty at SFA. Despite all that time, there's always going to be room for improvement. And one of the sources of information for improvement is student course evaluations. Certainly not, there's not as much, a lot of feedback as there used to be back in the day when we actually handed physical forms to students and everyone in the class filled it out. And I'm sure I can improve survey response rates by offering extra credit for doing it. But if I'm going to offer extra credit for something to students, I'm going to have it be a little more than just filling out this survey. And mostly because I want the student evaluation comments to come from students that felt strongly enough that they took the time to fill out the survey. So let's look at the comments I got from the fall 22 semester from students. And start from criminal law. Now, criminal law was a fully online course that was designed with its future hybrid or high flex modality in mind. And so it was very much student driven learning. Students read the book, students read the penal code, and then participated in online discussions, took a quiz. So here's what students said. Dr. Hayes has been a great instructor this semester. Cool, thanks. What did I do good? What did you like about what I did? I don't know. And comments like that help when students say, hey, you were great. Here's what you did great. So that I know to keep doing those things. I was online, so I did not experience the instructor very much. All right. I was so confused at the beginning and then realized it is mostly just memorization, understanding principles, hopefully long-term memorization. I hope so too, especially if you're going to become a police officer. And the TCOL exam at the end of your police academy is, from what I hear, largely memorizing the Texas Penal Code, Texas Family Code, Texas Traffic Code, yada, yada, yada. And so hopefully I've started you down that road, but not done it so much that it made it super frustrating or hard, nearly hard or nearly impossible to take the course. For future students taking 30 for 305, yeah, there's a bit of that memorization in there. And then understanding principles is super important because my goal as a teaching criminal law is not so much that you memorize the penal code, because you're going to do that. You're going to do that in the police academy. But I want you to understand the principles behind the law, which is why we look at the model penal code. We look at a lot of the case law involved in the formation of criminal law, so that you understand how the law is made and why the law is made. All right, what else we got? There's a long comment from a student. Someone took some time to write and some useful stuff. Unless a student is good from strictly learning from a textbook, this course will be difficult. True. While the textbook is easy to read, the chapters are grouped into 1 week. There's a lot of material to cover in criminal law. I did my best to group things together logically. That mostly worked, in my opinion, but sometimes you kind of put some chapters together, you're like, well, these kind of work together. For students who are slower to read chapters, there's not enough time to complete all the readings and retain the information that's needed. I'm not sure what I can do about that because there's only one criminal law course. I might look at things that I can leave out, but the criminal law course is a lot of material. And sometimes 15, 16 weeks, it's hard to squeeze it in there. Some chapters are quicker than others, but there was a mixed material that not always pertained to each other in the same week. We kind of talked about that. I don't know. maybe, and I've already got the spring, of course, spring semester, so I could already make adjustments. Um, I don't know. Maybe that's a useful comment. If I continue getting students feeling that way, I might have to adjust things. Unfortunately, the adjustment will probably be knocking out the Texas Penal Code reading and leaving that for police academies, and that would make me a little sad to have to do that. But it would be the only way to cut down on the reading because I can't. The only way to reduce the textbook reading is to leave stuff out, uh, which I think is not a good choice. The grading templates were great in order to understand why a student received the grade they did. Thank you. I worked hard on those. However, some explanation on quiz answers would be beneficial to students who understand the material. To understand the material better, take a quiz and not see what you did wrong was not beneficial, especially when teaching by online through a textbook. That's fair. Really kind of struggled this semester with getting those grade book settings set because I can't. I think what I ended up doing was just trying to set the quizzes so that you could see what you got wrong, what the wrong answer was, or see the questions, know which ones you got right, know which ones you got wrong after the quiz closed. Because I allow students to take multiple attempts at quizzes, it's hard to set the grade book up so that you can see your answers right away. Now, I've made some changes to the quizzes for the upcoming semester. Actually, I've made some fairly wide ranging changes on the quizzes for the spring semester. And hopefully those will improve the course or make the course a little less difficult. Moving on to 3305 and 3306, Criminal Procedure 1 and 2. And I'm going to clump these two together, largely because they're 2 semesters of basically one really super long course. And so let's see what we've got. Do life situations I not get to fully grasp the work. Okay. I hope that whoever wrote that, things are getting better for them, and that their situations are making things better for them. Comments like that, though, don't help me as a professor at all. Hey, I hope things are getting better for whoever wrote that. Let's see. Great teacher makes you feel welcome in the class and fun learning fun. All right, lots of fun. We've got. I love how he ensures all students who show up participate get their points for the unit. And I do what I do in the class and all the law courses is I have a stack of index cards with students' picture and their name on it, and I record their participation on the back. And I do try to make sure, because participation points are a huge part of the class, particularly for students that are in the classroom. And these courses are in what's called a high flex format, which means students can come to class or they can just do everything online. And the criminal law course I just talked about will be in that same format in the spring. Very much I use those cards to make sure everybody gets opportunities to answer questions and get quizzed and get a chance to try to apply what they read about in the book to hypothetical situations, but are sometimes not hypothetical because sometimes I pull them right out of district and appellate court cases. Okay, let's see. I would have just liked to understand what I was missing on my assignments. There would be highlighting of what was wrong, but no answer to why it was highlighted. I would have just wished there was feedback to grow. All right, so I would call that a fair comment, except that whoever wrote this obviously wasn't looking at the rubric for both of these courses and for the criminal procedure or the criminal law course in spring. And in the fall, on the assignments now I have a rubric that I use to grade the assignments. And what they mean by assignments are the case books. And there are 2 different types of feedback that I can give as a professor. There are 3 places that I can give feedback in Brightspace. I can do inline comments basically on the digital version of the assignment. And that's where that highlighting the student is talking about occurs. So sometimes I'll just highlight stuff that should be obviously wrong. And a lot of that time that highlighting is grammatical errors, incorrect case citation format, which students were messing up all semester. The APA way is that the name of the case is in italics, and then the address, for lack of a better term, the court reporter address is not. And in the instructional material, I make it very clear this is what a case citation should look like. And then so when students would mess it up, I just highlight it. And the idea is that a student would go, okay, this is highlighted. There's something wrong here. Let me go investigate and see what I did wrong. And my purpose in that was to have students go and figure it out on their own without me just spoon feeding it to them. Now, the other place I do feedback is I have a rubric. So every kind of element in a case brief or assignment has a particular number or particular number of points assigned to it. And then in the rubric, there's a place for me to get feedback. And that's where my detailed feedback was. And it seems to me like whoever wrote this comment wasn't looking at the rubric. And so I think for to improve on what this student's feedback was for the spring and future semesters is that early in the semester, I will try to ensure that all the students taking these courses know here's where the bulk of my feedback is from. But I do want for a lot of for a lot of things, particularly mechanical things, I do like that idea. I want students to little things like grammar and spelling and punctuation, which all matter, or improper citations. My goal as professors, I'm just going to point out here is something where you made a mistake. Now, you, the student, it is your job to figure out what the mistake was and fix it. Because in that process of figuring it out, I improve your odds of not forgetting it again. Things that you have to obtain through struggle are retained much better than those things that are just given to you. And as a professor, I'm just not one of those people that's just going to give it to you. I will point out your mistakes and then we'll say, okay, go figure it out. But I think that I need to make that more clear to my students early in the semester so they know not to expect super detailed feedback on the simple mechanical stuff, that their job as a student is to go figure that out on their own. Maybe I'm not clear about that. And so I will improve in that fashion based on what the student said. All right, some more criminal procedure. Course is great. Teacher is phenomenal in this course with trying to get students to succeed. Thank you. Again, comments like that are great for the self-esteem. Be more useful, again, if you tell me what it is that you think is phenomenal or that I do good, so I know to ensure to keep doing those things. Let's see. Grading could definitely be less strict. I disagree. Maybe feedback needs a little bit better, but I've already talked about that. But I'm very much if here's my philosophy is grading. Most students are going to get a C. C is average. If you want more than an average grade, be more than an average student. If you as a student have questions about feedback on an assignment from me, or you're just struggling and can't seem to meet the standard, or you think, man, Dr. Day's standard is just damn impossible, come talk to me about it. I'm more than happy during my office hour to sit down with you and an assignment and show you exactly where you went wrong. Some of the students that improved the most during the semester are ones that came to me early in the semester. Some of them came quite agitated and angry about their grade. And then we sat down. I said, okay, here's why I graded you the way I did. And here's how you can do it better. And those students improved vastly and did fairly well in the course. I am always willing to help out and do what's necessary to help a student improve if that student is willing to reach out to show that they really want to improve by coming to see me. And with live streaming technology like Zoom, you didn't have to actually come see me. All you had to do was log in to the Zoom during my office hours and have a conversation. Um, and if my office hours don't match your schedule somehow, especially in the spring, this next spring, I'm teaching 5 classes. My schedule's super full, and my office hours all happen at the same time every day of the week. And I imagine in the spring, I'm going to have some students who my office hours just they're not good for them. Don't just stew and complain. Dr. Jeffrey's here. There's classes during that. I can't meet with him. He's too hard. Instead of complaining and bitching about it, reach out to me and say, "Hey, I got work or I got class during this time. Your office hours don't work for me," and we'll work something out. I am generally willing to work something out with students who will make the effort to reach out to me and say, "Hey, I need extra help," or I can't meet with you during your scheduled office hours, and I'll do what I need to do to get to meet with you. But if you don't reach out to me, if you just sit in your little corner and stew and complain, then you can sit in your little damn corner and stew and complain. Let's see what else got. Enjoy Dr. Day's lectures, gain civic knowledge from it. I think that's amusing since I don't really lecture in this class, but that's cool. This course is really fun. I enjoy going to class and being involved to lecture. Again, I don't lecture. We have discussion. I felt like I was able to learn effectively and efficiently the whole semester. I love those 2 comments because when I started teaching law and procedure at SFA, I started a whole new way of teaching it. Because when I taught criminal law and procedure at ETBU, the class was all lecture. I spent an hour or an hour and 15 minutes every class session just lecturing about the law or criminal procedure. And I changed how I teach this course when I started teaching it here at SFA a year ago or so. I said, okay, we're going to do this different. We're going to let students learn the material through reading it, and then we're going to sit down every time we come to class, and we're either going to have some sort of group activity revolving around the material, or we're going to do this kind of, okay, I'm going to make up scenarios and you guys apply the law to it. And I will agree, I had a lot of fun with it too. So certainly be teaching, continuing that. And if you take the class as an online student, those discussions that I have in the course are my online equivalent of that. And I've done what I could through those discussions to try to replicate what I do in the classroom, in the online environment. And it's not a perfect analogy, and it doesn't work as well. And I'm still, if you have ideas for how I can do that, kind of replicate what I do in the classroom in the online environment, I'd be more than happy to hear them. Right now it's just the discussions, and it's what I got. Because of the HighFlex format, though, I've got to have these courses kind of built where they kind of the online and face to face and hybrid, all those different modalities all mirror each other. And I think I've done a decent job building a course that way. But I do agree, so much you can't learn. You lose some of the fun when you don't actually come to class. When you don't come to class. All right, moving on to understanding criminal justice research, 4341. So we've got another personal comment. Of course, this is the research methods course. These personal comments like that. Again, most importantly, I hope the student who wrote this is getting help if they need it. To deal with whatever the personal issue was and get that straightened out. But putting comments like that on course evaluation doesn't really tell me anything because I don't know who wrote it. And so it's not very useful to me, though it might be useful to the student to express those feelings in a manner like that. And if it's good for a student for that reason, then it doesn't hurt me to have it on the sheet. So keep doing it. I will say this, and I'm sure my bosses at SFA are going to hate me for saying this. There may come a time in your life where life itself is so overwhelming that you can't do school. There is nothing wrong with putting a pause on school. The university will be here. It's been here for almost 100 years. It'll be here for another 100 years. College will always be there. Sometimes it's necessary to take a step back, get your life together so that you can be successful in college. If life outside of school is wrecking your success in college, then take a semester off or two and get your life together so that you can concentrate. So sometimes what I see with students and even in my own life, if you're trying, if your personal life or your life outside school is so chaotic that it's interfering with your ability to school and you're trying to do both at the same time, neither one of those get fixed. And it's probably healthier to fix the personal issues and then come back to school than try to ignore the personal issues and press and charge forward with school. I think a lot of students are always all of this, it's all this, did you graduate on time? Oh, failed on time means, I know we track 4 and 6 year graduation rates for assessment, but I think on an individual basis, sometimes you're better off pausing and coming back later. Get a job, go work on the field. And if you're a CJ major and you're trying to go to work for TDCJ, go get a job in the prison system, work for a few years. Don't let working in the prison system affect how you feel about offenders, because it will. Get your life in order and then come back and be successful. Don't waste thousands of dollars when you're not ready. It's okay. Don't let people convince you that that you failed or have to have the college degree now to be successful. Blah 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 blah. No, that's not true. To get ahead in most careers, you need that. You need the college degree. It certainly opens, in the criminal justice field, it opens some doors to some really cool careers, makes advancement easier. You should have a degree. But you get into this business without it. Not at the federal level, but at the state and local level, you get into this business without it. Work for a while. And there's so many options now for online education that you work for a while and then you come back and do it online while working as a professional if you got to. Just don't let if you got personal stuff that's interfering, take care of that. I mean, your health, whether it's physical, mental, your family, those things are more important than college. Moving on. Teachers great if you work on giving a little more detailed feedback other than vague. Most of the time I do give detailed feedback, so I don't disagree with that. I don't 100% agree with that. Sometimes my feedback comes down to, huh? Or what? And usually that's because something a student wrote was so bad that I have no idea what they were trying to say. Or I really just want you to reread it. And most of the time a student will, if I highlight something on a paper and write, huh, or what, or just put a bunch of question marks, and the student rereads what I highlighted, they go, yeah, I kind of see why he said that. All right, so for example, he says, where's your source for this material? Now, that's not vague at all. I'm sorry to whoever wrote this, but that's not vague at all. That means you didn't cite your sources. And that's a much nicer way of saying, hey, you plagiarized this. Instead, he could improve it by saying, here is something you could add to make it better, or give us this idea of what it should look like or what it should say. Well, in the case of that particular piece of feedback, what it should say is citation, that you should have an APA formatted citation for that piece of information. Have a lot of students that get through 3315. Amazing. I don't know if they get through 3315 without understanding how to cite their sources, because Dr. Hill drummed that stuff into your head until it hurts. But whatever. I do work hard to improve student writing. I spend an hour to an hour and a half on almost every paper. providing feedback, pointing out things that need to be changed, often rewriting things or saying, here's how you can write this better. I think for a lot of times I get feedback like this from a student on course evaluations because they didn't make full use of what was there. The other thing is, and I can't say this enough, part of this improvement is on the student. You as a student, you get a comment like that, you don't know what to do with it. Come ask me. More often than not, that's my goal, is to get you to come ask me about it so we can talk about it. Because if I'm really vague about something other than, where's your sources, because that's not vague at all. If I highlight something, you go, or what, or sometimes I'll just flat say, hey, we need to talk about this. It's only because I want you to come talk to me, whether it's live or on Zoom. Even if we have to make an appointment to talk outside my normal office hours, because I don't know where this comment comes from. I spent a lot of time making a lot of feedback. There are things, though, that the feedback is minimal because those are the things that as you come into the class, you are expected to know. Okay, when you come into these 4,000 level research methods course, you have already taken 3315. You are expected to know how to write incomplete sentences. You are expected to know APA citation format because you learned them in another class. And in this class, in the 4341 course, I do not reteach the material you learned in prior courses. It was your responsibility to learn that material in prior courses. You need individual help. That's what I have office hours for. But there's a lot of things that you're expected to know already when you come to this course. The 4341 course is for learning about research methods and how to write a methodology section of a research paper or research proposal. And the course is not about how to write a lit review or how to write incomplete sentences, because you were supposed to learn those things before you came. But I will still help you with those things. You just have to come ask for help. Or actually read the feedback that I probably spent an hour or two writing on your paper. Unless, of course, you got the dreaded "I quit reading here" comment, because some papers are so bad that I just won't read them. And frankly, if your writing is that bad, you need to go to the ARC and get help with your writing. All right, what do we got left? We've got 4341. All right, Warren, 4341. It's a tough class. It requires a lot of work. Dr. A is a tough grader, but he's very clear about what he's looking for. And to keep up the assignments, there should be no issue. True. I would add to that student's comment, though, ask for help if you need it. That's what my office hours are for. I, like a lot of faculty, we sit in our offices. We do other stuff. We're not just sitting there twiddling our thumbs. But we're on campus during our scheduled office hours, waiting for our students to come ask for help. We want you to come ask for help. We like what we do. Almost all of us could be making more money as professionals in our fields, but we do this because we like teaching and we like having 4 weeks off between the fall and spring semester. Not really time off because we're just prepping courses. But we like teaching. That's why we're here. In fact, faculty that don't like teaching should go find another job, or go work at a research university where they're not expected to teach. But SFA is a teaching university, and all the SFA faculty are because we love teaching. Most of us, anyway, are here because we love to teach. Come to our office hours. We will teach you. All right, another comment from 4341. This is a tough class, requires a lot of work. Dr. Day is a tough grader, but he's very clear about what he's looking for. And if you keep up with the assignments, there should be no issue. True. I will say, add to that, though, if what I say is not clear to you, ask me. Nothing is more frustrating to me than getting complaints from students that, did you ask for help? Did you ask for help? No? Well, if you were struggling and you didn't ask for help and you failed, that's on you. I don't know what to say about that. These are kind of my favorite comments where people recognize that the course was difficult and um, and then give advice for. And now here's the thing, though, is that this feels like advice for future students that will never read this. Well, now you might read it. And then what else? Lastly, we've got research and analysis application, everyone's favorite class. That's sarcasm, by the way. Let's see. Research analysis application, that's really the data analysis course. First piece of advice I'll give you about the course is when you take probability and statistics, don't forget what you learned in probability and statistics, because I'm not reteaching those concepts. Let's see, I think this class should come with a coding class to further help you understand what you're doing. I disagree. While writing syntax for Stata, which is our statistical software that I use when I teach the course, while writing syntax for that for Stata is kind of sort of similar to coding. It's not really coding. I use that word sometimes when I teach, but it's not really coding. And I think that learning computer coding will confuse students. In fact, I had a student who was familiar with computer coding, HTML, whatever all those other things are. And it really messed him up during the semester because he kept trying to do things similar to how we did it in coding, and other types of computer coding or older versions of Stata, and it really messed him up. Whether it's on the video or in class, I'm very clear about how to do things in the software, how to write the syntax. I think rather than coding class, because that's going to mess people up and confuse. More often that will confuse a student rather than help them. What I think what you really need to do is have your own cheat sheet. Make yourself a master list of all the syntax and how it works, and have it by your side. Because there's no memorization in 4242. It's all, you can use whatever you got on the homeworks and the tests and whatever. So have a sheet, your own little crib sheet of how all the different Stata commands that you've learned and how they work. And then just keep that with you all semester long and use it. I think some students, the reason they did poorly in the class is because they kept forgetting how to do things. Which is the other piece of advice that I have, is that this class is a lot like a mathematics course, even though there's very little math in it. In that one thing builds on the next. So you have to make sure that you understand the material from the first unit before you move on to the second one, before you move on to the third one. And ask for help. Come see me and ask for help. There's something you don't understand, because everything will be called back to at some point during the semester. It's all cumulative. It's all comprehensive. Let's just say. Let's see. Starting out, I wasn't confident I would pass the course due to the material being taught. Unfortunately, Dr. just wanted to help whenever I reached out for clarification during the semester. Thank you. Another example of a comment I think some students are going to benefit from these comments more than I am, because they often feel like things that should be written towards other folks. All right, so that's all the feedback I got from students this semester. And those are my responses to it. I look forward to making my next video in this series, which is the How to Survive Dr. Day's Criminal Law Procedure courses, featuring Dr. Day's Criminal Law Procedure students. That'll be a fun video. It'll take me a little while to put together, because the whole video editing thing, and obviously the lighting thing, is still something I'm working on. I think I'm getting a little better, sort of. All right, well, that's it. Ciao for now.